Hey, everybody, welcome to episode 26 of the Giant Zone tonight. Special night here. Of course, you got our co-host, Steve the Banker.
Going on, everybody.
And then you've got yours truly, Fly Guy Carl. And again, hi, everybody. And then we've got our special guest. He's here for his third time from Tommy Takes, as many of you know him, and also from all of you that have been watching us since our beginning, actually. Our good friend Tommy's on the show tonight. And Tommy, welcome back. And again, thank you so much for coming back on. It was short notice, but we really appreciate you coming on tonight, brother.
What's up, fellas? Thank you so much for having me on. I got my start here with the Giant Zone. You guys put me in front of the camera when I was just sending out tweets and just sending my thoughts out. You guys always been there for me, big time supporters. I love what the Giant Zone is doing. You guys have made some phenomenal progress, had some amazing guests on. You guys do it the right way, the classy way. There's no bashing, arguing, really respectful Giants fans. And I'm always here to come on for you guys. And I appreciate everything you've done for my career as well.
We appreciate that, Tommy. It's very, very nice of you to say that and respect the fact that you remember who was there for you in the beginning. We always try to do the same thing. So, again, thank you so much. And to that point, we're so happy seeing how things have come together for you and, where you've gotten to. And before we get into the show, why don't you just explain a little bit to everybody that hasn't seen your show yet about Tommy's Takes and what you're doing and what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Carl. So I have my own show. It's on Giants Country. It's executive produced by Patricia Traina. Obviously, she works, with the Giants as a beat reporter. It's basically Tommy's Takes. So, I pick a couple things and I just shoot straight. It's just me. I've done, top three players going into a game, bottom three players on the hot seat. I've touched on, predictions. I touched on a little bit of Daniel Jones, which I really want to get to tonight. But it's just me. It's just my takes. It's kind of a way for me to get off of Twitter and touch my fans in a different way, in a more personal way. So you guys check that out, Tommy's Takes. It's on Giants Country YouTube, and my Twitter is TommyG105. Obviously, most Giants fans know me from Twitter. That's where I got my start. So, just trying to get it on YouTube. It almost seems like the Twitter community and the YouTube community are a little bit separate, right? So, like Carl puts out tweets, you get hundreds of comments and likes, and then YouTube is a little different. It's a little more slowly prodded, right? So trying to get my name really out on there, trying to follow in your guys' footsteps, doing it the right way, doing it the classy way. I don't really believe in a lot of the other stuff. But if, anybody hasn't seen it, please subscribe to the channel. The subscribers really mean a lot, goes a long way. And for us content creators that, do work and we do stuff during the day and we try to provide content. When you guys like, comment, and subscribe, that's just a little boost. That's just a little knock to say, keep going. So all the support is appreciated.
And Tommy, you mentioned something that I like to mention in the beginning is, for all the new people that are watching us tonight, whether it's people that follow you that have never watched us or just new people in general, we ask, please, if you're watching us on our YouTube channel, please subscribe. It costs you nothing, and it just helps us to continue to bring content to you. And if you download, because our show is available on all major download platforms, we ask, please just give us a 5-star rating. If you like the show and you like what we're doing here and you like us, just please give us a 5-star rating. It just helps us in the long run to continue to bring you new content and help us to continue to do different things here. So given that, and thank you, let's kind of get into this tonight. So I put out there today the question of the day. My question of the day today
That was a banger, brother. That was a banger. That thing is still going.
Yeah, it's still turning it up. But so my question of the day was, what do you think the leash for Daniel Jones is going to be? And look, I think we can all agree that this horse has been beaten to death all off season, but there's still so many strong feelings out there, and there's still so many strong opinions out there that I wanted to kind of dip my toe back into that pool of water and just kind of gauge people's temperature, especially after the first preseason game and now that we're in camp, just to kind of get where people are at. So, Tommy, you're the guest tonight, so I know you're a big Daniel Jones guy. So if you can kind of briefly summarize for us where you think this is at and what your feelings are on that, we'll let you go first here.
Yeah, and I was happy you wanted to talk about this. I haven't really touched on it a lot on Tommy's takes. I've kind of stayed away from it for the most part. I've been kind of wading in the water. Listen, let's be honest here, right? He hasn't looked great in camp. It's been blown up by every beat reporter. The balls are dying, the velocity's flat. He's not looking great. My thing is this: what happened versus New England? Got the ball, drove him right down the field, got to the 3-yard line, and Kenny Golladay drops the pass on the goal line. If Golladay catches that pass, that's a 75-yard touchdown drive in an actual preseason game. So I think a lot of what's happened in training camp is just the aggravation of Giants fans and the stress and the frustration. And Jones hasn't performed, and we thought we had a head coach and judge, and that didn't work out. And we're just hanging on every little thing and every little pass. But he has struggled. Like, let's be real here. At FanFest, he had some tough plays. Multiple training camps. He struggled with Wink Martindale's aggressive creative blitz defense. And if you're going to ask me, how short is his leash? My thing is this, guys. We have to develop our other skill position players. Kadarius Toney, if he ever plays. Wan'Dale Robinson, right? Saquon Barkley. It's hard to develop these players when the quarterback is struggling, right? So if you get to week 4, 5, 6, and Daniel Jones is struggling and the ball's dying on him, I don't think that's going to happen. But if it gets to the point where we're like, like last year when he got hurt, we couldn't develop anybody. We didn't know what anybody could do because the quarterbacks couldn't get the ball 10 yards downfield. So if it gets to the point where he can't help develop the other players, forget him for a second and what he could do. The bare minimum, is he getting pulled or not? He has to keep that offense going, man. He has to get everybody involved. For himself, I think the leash is very short. And the reason I say that is because the team has to be looking at, when you got a brand new head coach and Brian Daboll, you got Joe Shane, they're not looking at just this season, right? They're looking at next year, the year after. And, we're really going to pay this kid next year, $35 million on a franchise tag, right? Or are we going to give him, 70, 80 million on a contract? So he, in my opinion, and I'm a Daniel Jones supporter, I've been an avid supporter, he needs to do a couple of things here, right? So statistically, he has to have, I'd say, a top 10 quarterback season to come back, maybe even higher. But there's also some underlying stuff there, right? Has to get better in the pocket, right? Has to get better with pressure. Has to be better in the fourth quarter. There's been a couple games in his career where the game was on the line and the Giants were right there and he couldn't bring them home. I want to see Daniel Jones finish strong in the game. Slide. Don't take the big hit. Don't go head first into the linebacker. I think if he does some of this stuff, he has a chance. But honestly, it's uphill battle, guys. I mean, you're looking at look at the pressure just from training. There's people hanging on every single throw he makes in training camp. I remember a week and a half ago, he was getting blitzed nonstop in practice. And he had a pretty bad throw. He threw it up into the end zone, double coverage. Everybody was roasting him. You know what Coach Daboll says at the end of practice? Well, that was a drill we do where we tell the quarterback, no matter how tightly covered the receiver is, you throw it up to him. Mm-hmm. So we don't really know what's going on, right? Like the only thing we know is when the games start, when the real games start. And he looked pretty good in that first preseason game.
So back to the original question, your analysis of Daniel Jones is spot on. What do you predict for the leash? Is there a leash, and what do you predict it is? How many games?
Yeah, so I would say, honestly, I'd give him 8 games. I'd give him 8 to 10 games, unless, like I said just now, 4 or 5 games, he's struggling so badly, nobody's developing, and you got to pull him out of there. You got to get him out of there for his own good. But if he's playing okay and he's developing, give the kid 10 games. You're going to bring Tyrod Taylor in. Listen, everybody wants to love Tyrod Taylor. The anti-Jones crew loves Tyrod Taylor, right? Great guy. I'm sure he's a great teammate. He's played okay. He's a backup quarterback. He's not a starting quarterback in the NFL. Look at his contract he signed with the Giants, right? He's a backup. So before everybody starts pining for Tyrod, let's give Jones at least minimum 8 to 10 games. It's his third offensive system the kid has been in Daniel Jones. No excuses for him because he's played poorly at times. I think he's a little skittish. I think sometimes he sees ghosts in the pocket. I think it has a lot to do with the Giants having a bottom 5 offensive line the last 3 years consecutively. But I got to give him at least 10 games.
Steve?
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, Tommy. Like Carl said, spot on. Look, it's interesting. sometimes I look at Daniel and I'm flummoxed because I'm like, he's not special. And if we look at all, and what I mean by that is I always, my measuring stick is Kirk Cousins, top 10 quarterback in the league now, spent his first 4 years in Washington, was drafted with Robert Griffin III, who RG3 was the guy, right? And he was just an afterthought in, what was it, the 4th round, I think, that year. And then lo and behold, we all know how things played out in Washington. RG3 was hurt. He ended up playing. He ended up doing well, gets a huge contract, goes to Minnesota. And people don't think of Kirk Cousins that way, but at the end of the day, the guy's a top 10 quarterback in the league. He's taken his team to the playoffs. They've had high performing offenses. Now they're thinking he may do even better with an offensive coach. The reason I bring up Kirk Cousins is because I'm like, man, you can't tell me that Daniel Jones isn't more talented than Kirk Cousins. Number two, I also think of what he did his first year under Pat Shurmur, when it was like, go crazy. Don't overthink it. Play like you're in a schoolyard. Here's the offensive system to do it. And he set like all-time rookie records. Obviously, he had all-time rookie turnovers as well. But I mean, that was special, right? But then sometimes I think about it, I'm like, well, is he special? And the reason I keep using the word special, because the truth is, it's not an exact science. Drafting quarterbacks, again, other than Tom Brady, the most famous of all, and maybe Russell Wilson further down in the draft, they're almost always in the first round, but how very few are actually hit. I think we can all agree Gettleman overestimated his ability to find a quarterback. He thought he was a Corsi, right? We all know the story with a Corsi and Eli Manning and what he thought of him and how he was like willing to, this is the quarterback. If I have to trade everything we have to get him, and we all know how it played out. He's not Eli Manning, but I think there's things that are special about him. His ability to run at full speed, his accuracy. He has maybe the most accurate deep arm in the league last year, especially. Unfortunately, he hardly got to throw the ball deep, but when he did, he was the most accurate. He can throw a beautiful ball. But the flip side is he does some things really, really poorly, and he's been doing them poorly since college. He doesn't go through his progressions. He doesn't understand pocket presence. The guy's no Phil Simms, right? I mean, he's no Peyton Manning. He doesn't even have, and that's not athleticism, guys, right? Like, how many great quarterbacks were not athletic, but they, like Eli and Peyton, for example, but they understood how to feel the pressure, how to move around the pocket, how to buy yourself time. Is he ever going to have those things? And I think that's where John Mara was talking about when he said, we didn't do right by him these last 4 years. We screwed him up the first 3 years. Was we didn't allow him to progress and to grow, and for us to figure out, can he gain those things? Are those things in him already? I keep using the word special because if you don't have a special quarterback, I think we could have made the playoffs last year if he didn't get hurt. Doesn't mean we would have done anything. We probably would have gotten slaughtered. Is that the goal for the Giants? Our goal is Super Bowl or bust, right? This is a franchise now, 4 Super Bowls, 5 appearances total, that we don't ever just want to make the playoffs, and that's the maximum. So I think all of that to say, I don't know if Daniel Jones is ever going to be the answer, but they need to figure it out. And I think 8 games is spot on. If he doesn't, and the truth is, who knows if he's even going to make it through a season, because he's shown a complete inability to make it through a season healthy since he's been in the league anyway.
So I agree with both of you. Both of your assessments are, again, spot on. I echo a lot of those sentiments. My feelings on this whole thing are, look, he's going to be the guy this year, at least to start. We know that. They've said it. And then the report came out today. Well, Tyrod Taylor may be getting some first team. Okay, great. You know what? He's got to work with the first team. God forbid we need him with the first team.
Absolutely.
Okay, so there's that. So I didn't put too much value into that. But let's understand something. The quarterback position is the most important position on the field. This decision to go forward with Daniel Jones or not will really impact the direction of this franchise for years to come. So I know I put the question out there today, is there a leash on Daniel Jones? And my gut and my responses were, if he's not doing well through the first 8 games, week 9 is the bye. That's the time you make the move, I would say. I would think, okay?
That's fair.
Now, week 6 is Baltimore. There's that's Wink's old team. I would not be surprised if he's doing that badly and they're going to make a change. If they're considering making a change, he may not play after the game in London against Green Bay. Just FYI. Okay. Again, just my thought. Again, though, if they're going to make a change, I would say it's during the bye week. And then Tyrod Taylor would start week 10 against Houston. But if you're going to really use this year to evaluate, and it's not just Daniel Jones they're evaluating, there are many other players in this roster that are being evaluated. To make a full and complete evaluation, you got to go the full year. He's got to go 17. If he can stay healthy, he's got to go 17 games. You can't make an honest, full, complete, and accurate evaluation on a short sampling. Guys, it just doesn't work. So I would say he is in a group of many other players on this roster that, hey, look, all right. And again, there's people tying this to wins. Well, if they're only, if they're 2-4 or 1-5, he's done. No, this cannot be tied to wins, because I've asked numerous people today. Well, okay, so let's say they're 2-4 and they're 1-5, but the losses are team losses, not Daniel Jones losses. Well, how do you feel then? Do you still want to make a change just because you don't like Daniel Jones? Well, that's okay. So fans may want to do that. I can't see coaches and people that are paid to run this team doing so. That doesn't make sense to me. And again, you know what? We've been hearing, you hear good in camp, you hear bad in camp. You hear how the offense is struggling in camp. Daniel Jones has thrown an interception here, an interception. Okay, great. He came out against most of New England's number ones. And Tommy, to your point, he moved them 75 yards.
Yep.
Okay, they didn't score because Kenny Golladay dropped the pass right in his numbers. That's not on Daniel Jones. They would have had another touchdowns had Kenny Golladay stretched out for the ball. That's not on Daniel Jones. So he actually had them in scoring position twice. Okay, I'll take that. We didn't see that last year. You give me that, and he's going through the progressions, and he's making the plays. He's not forcing the ball. If they're 2-4, 1-5, I stay with him. I think you have to stay with him.
I agree, and you know what else too? I think we have to look at is the offensive system he's in now. I mean, if you look at the game, versus New England, you've seen some really awesome concepts that Dayball and Kafka were out there. Some flood concepts, some layer concepts. I think that offense, more than anything, is going to help Daniel Jones. Is going to bring the best out of Daniel Jones. Listen, is he a capped quarterback? Does he have a ceiling? Is he going to go out there like Mahomes and sling it behind his back and say, no, he's not. He's a capped quarterback, right? But that doesn't mean they can't bring the best out of him. And I think in the New England game, and also too, just to double back, they have changed some of his mechanics, some of his footwork. I don't know if you guys seen, but on Twitter, he holds the right foot back now in his stance before he snaps the ball. So that could have been an adjustment period too in camp. You change a guy's footwork after 3 years. It's like learning a different language, right? Especially, they were talking about Evan Neal moving a right tackle. It's not easy. It's different footwork. For a quarterback that's rhythm-based and programmed, that's tough. So I think you'll see in this new offense, and I understand the concerns. Got a tough game versus Tennessee to open the season. I don't like that matchup for us. I'll be totally honest. On the road against a tough team. Their defense wasn't great last year, but they have some strong defensive players. I think this offense really will suit Daniel Jones. Got to get guys healthy though. I mean, how are you going to develop Daniel Jones when you have Kadarius Toney constantly injured? Golladay looks like he wants to be anywhere but at the stadium, at the practice facility. He looks like he's 48 years old out there sometimes. And I'm rooting for the guy to come, have a good season, especially for $72 million. But I mean, look at the play at FanFest. You guys remember that play? It was all on Twitter where he does the curl route and Jones is forced to throw it out of bounds because the route was so sloppy. Jones got blamed for that.
Yep.
And Golladay ran one of the sloppiest routes I've ever seen. He was like jogging. And I know it's FanFest. I know it's vanilla offense. We're putting on a show. We're not giving anything out. But come on, if you want this kid to develop at quarterback, and he already has limitations, he's going to need some help. And that's the one thing that concerns me. You hit it right on the head. If I had to put my money on three things, Daniel Jones becoming a Pro Bowler, Daniel Jones being a bust, or Daniel Jones going down with a bad injury to end his career, I go with the injury. My money's on the injury. I'll be honest. He's been hurt every year. He likes to run, doesn't like to slide. I love his toughness. Listen, Daniel Jones' toughness is up there with some of the top quarterbacks. It's one of his top features. But his toughness has also led to him not being there for the team. So I think he needs to be a little bit smarter.
Look, let me ask you guys both a question. I want him to succeed. I think he does have some special talents that we haven't seen before. He's not Lamar Jackson with the ball. He doesn't have the wiggle of Russell Wilson and Lamar. Okay, fine, whatever. But my question is this. Let's say I agree with you if we were placing odds and the season would end with one of 3 or 4 things happening. He plays the full year, we make the playoffs. Even if he gets hurt for a couple of games, we got a great backup now. Maybe they make the playoffs. Woo! We don't make the playoffs. You know, he has an okay year, but is it the type of thing you want to resign him? Well, I think then there's a whole discussion about what are our options. We're probably not going to get one of the top 2 quarterbacks. That's a whole rabbit hole, right? My question is, I saw on Twitter the other day, and it kind of caught me off guard because I've been saying, Carl's heard me, I've been saying for the last couple of podcasts, listen, they're probably going to franchise tag him even if he's just average because we're not going to get one of the top QBs and there's no Russell Wilson. I'm not saying Russell Wilson would have been a good option here, but when I say that, there's no great quarterback that, because we're going to be number 3 or number 4 in the league next year with salary cap as it stands today. So we're going to have all this money to spend.
Yeah.
So I said, well, so my question is, somebody said the other day, they're like, how about Lamar Jackson? Things aren't working out in Baltimore. And I was like, oh my God, how would you feel about us getting Lamar Jackson, still drafting a nice quarterback prospect in, let's say, the 2nd or 3rd round to groom or whatever? But I think the goal is to create that foundation of the house. So can you imagine what type of position that would put us in? So would you guys be devastated if the season didn't work out the way obviously a lot of Giants fans don't want Daniel to succeed, but many of us do. But something like that could play out.
As far as Lamar Jackson coming here?
Getting a Lamar Jackson obviously would cost us a crazy amount of money, but
yeah, I don't see Baltimore letting him get out of there. Like, I know there's some friction there with Baltimore and him. I would be shocked if Baltimore lets him go to another team. Listen, I'll say this. I'm a Daniel Jones supporter, but I'm a New York Giants fan above anything. And just like you and just like Carl and everybody else, this is some frustrating times, man. I like to call this the decade of disaster. All right, we had one playoff appearance in 2016. We were 1 and done. Other than that, it's been a disaster. It's been injuries, firings, bad draft picks.
We haven't had a winning record
Ugh.
at any point. In fact, I joked with Carl.
Don't even say it, please. Don't even say it.
Last week, if we upset Tennessee and we're 1-0, that'll be the first time we've had a winning record since 2016.
It's remarkable. I mean, when you really think about it, you sit back and look. It's really remarkable how far the franchise has fallen. So, back to my original point. If Daniel Jones doesn't play well, we don't make the playoffs. It's time to if we want to go get a Lamar Jackson, I would love to have Lamar Jackson.
Can you imagine?
You know what? Give me a quarterback that could run.
Yeah. If Baltimore returns to the playoffs, that friction's going to go away.
Yeah, agree.
So, I mean,
I don't know, man.
I think it's pie in the sky to think about it, and it's fun and exciting. At the end of the day, I don't see Lamar Jackson playing anywhere else than in Baltimore next year.
I agree. Then I let him out.
He's that kind of a player. He's a franchise player.
Right.
He was MVP of the league.
Exactly. I think that's a situation where you got to work. Now, stranger things have happened, Steve. We've seen players.
Baltimore's not.
I didn't expect to see Devontae Adams in a Raiders uniform this year. Okay, case in point. Okay.
Remember, guys, Baltimore's like Pittsburgh. They're probably the 2 best run organizations in football.
Yes,
they don't.
Absolutely.
Yes, they are.
They don't play that game.
My gut is I don't see that happening. And you know what? So let's say,
Just saying.
I mean, if it's a trade, okay. If it's free agency, he's going to have his choice of locations. Do you think he'd come here? During a rebuild?
I know Joe Shane has a lot of fans out there in the NFL. I know Joe Shane is very highly thought of, as well as Dayball. If you would ask me that last year, I would say, hell no. Nobody wants a part of the Giants organization right now with Gettleman and Judge. But I think Shane and Dayball have a pretty good standing in the league. I think so. I think he would come. Now, it's a good question. You know, would you rather spend draft capital and guarantee he comes here? And you know it's going to be extraordinary draft capital. Or you take your chances and say, hey, listen, this is what we want to give you. You know, we want you in Giants blue. But it's either way, it's going to cost regardless. I just don't think it happens. I think the more likely scenario is Jones plays the season out. I think the bigger issue is depth on the New York Giants, honestly, offensive line, secondary. I think that's really going to be the team's undoing as the season goes along. I mean, we've already seen a rash of injuries. And, you know, the two position groups, you don't want to see the injuries, offensive line, secondary, and it's been tough. You know, Lemieux has the turf toe now, right? He lost a couple players on the offensive line already. So I would say probably season goes along, Jones plays okay, and then we part ways. And you hope that you got like a top 10 pick, top 15 pick, or maybe trade up. I want a young guy. I want to bring me a rookie. Let's get a new guy in here that we could get, you know, into the system with Dayball and Kafka, you know, and let's start it that way. I'd rather that than a Lamar type, even though it is enticing. I'm not going to lie.
I agree with you. I prefer to have the low salary cap hit so that way we can. I was playing devil's advocate, Carl. I just wanted to hear what you guys.
No, you're right.
No,
you're
I get
right.
it. Like, look, I like the rebuild. I that's why I don't think Lamar fits in a rebuild.
Yeah.
And one point about
Fascinating.
you, I'm hearing now it's his foot, not his toe.
Yeah, that's you
a
know,
concern.
that's even worse. Yeah, man, that's
Yeah,
unfortunate.
I
He was
know.
looking good too.
Anyway, all right. So there's that.
Okay.
Secondly, let's very quickly here. So we know, you know, camp is progressing and, you know, there is that cut down day that's going to be looming out there eventually. So I want your opinions. Who do you think is going to be a surprise cut? Could be a couple players. Who do you think will be a surprise make to this roster? And Steve, I'll start with you this time.
Man, I have all the position groups in front of me, and there's a battle at edge, tight end, running back, linebacker, wide receiver. It's crazy how much turnover this roster's had. Mm-hmm. I think we're going to look back on this draft as foundational, and so that's exciting. The bad news is it's a battle at all these positions.
It's foundational.
Yeah, it's foundational, and so the funny thing is like I see Ricky Seals-Jones getting cut. The guy hasn't played.
That was mine, Steve.
You know, they signed him.
He stole it, man. He stole it from you.
You know, it's stupid that they signed him. All the guy can do is catch the occasional pass. He killed us flat, you know, when we played him, but he can't block. He's the worst blocking tight end in football. Can't block his own shot. Anyway, so there's that. But then I look at Quincy Roche and O'Shane Ximenez, and I'm like,
yes,
they
Steve,
can't cut Quincy for so many reasons, but they've been playing O'Shane. And they've been playing them ahead. So now it's the preseason and it's camp. So maybe, and then when I look at the running back room, everyone hated Brightwell coming into the season. Oh, he's a Gettleman draft pick. He sucked and blah, blah, blah. Dude, the guy was, I thought he was I got skewered on Twitter because I said he was a beast. And someone was like, really beast? I'm like, excuse me, for Brightwell, he was a beast. He was running like
He played well. No, he played well. Absolutely.
I wish Saquon would run between the tackles like that. But then Antonio Williams, they brought him in from Buffalo. They know him and he's got a spark to him. And Breida hasn't played much. Where's Breida? So I look at the edge, I look at running back, you know, and then you start thinking about, do these guys, you know, contribute to specials? And a lot of them do actually. Like the two running backs both play specials actually pretty well. So, and then lastly, the wide receiver room, I think I can narrow it down to like 3 guys. And I think 2 out of the 3 are going to make it. So I think, is there going to be a surprise cut and surprise make? I don't know, man. In some ways, I don't think there's surprises, but I think it's about flavors of ice cream. Like, I don't think anyone's going to be surprised for me with any of these, but I think they're going to be like, oh, I'm just irritated because I wish they would have kept the other guy.
So, Steve, you stole my thunder on Ricky Seals-Jones.
Yeah, sorry.
Actually, then you hit me with the left with Ricky Seals-Jones, then you hit me with the right with
Wow,
with,
Steve. Come on,
Zimenez.
Steve.
So
I think he's seen your notes, Carl. You showed your notes really quick.
you would think so. So I know a lot of people are sitting out there saying, would you really be surprised if Kenny Golladay gets cut the way he's going on? Here's what I'm going to say about that. You know what? 72 million, new regime, clean slate. He's not going anywhere. He's going to make it through camp. And besides, if you're evaluating Daniel Jones, you got to give him weapons. You cut Kenny Golladay, you're cutting the poor guy's, half the guy's lifeline. You got to keep him on there. Look, I think Kenny Golladay is one of those players that's being evaluated to say, hey, is he going to be here going forward? So I don't think Kenny Golladay is going anywhere. So I don't know if there's going to be any surprises in the wide receiver room. I agree with Steve. I hate saying I agree because I thought I nailed that one, but I agree. Ricky Seals-Jones. Steve, you touched on somebody briefly that I've kind of been thinking about here, and it's Matt Breida. And let's see what this game brings. And if we see Matt Breida, you've heard absolutely nothing about Matt Breida this camp. Now, I also understand that Antonio Williams is now a little banged up, so that may change things depending on how severely he's nicked up. But I expect to see Matt Breida this weekend, and I want to see how he plays. On the defensive, by the way, there's one other person I'm going to throw in from the offense, and I don't think this is a surprise to anybody. It's Matt Hurt. That was just a swing and a miss, and
yeah,
I would be shocked if he's on this roster. He's he's on the PUP, so he's either going to stay in the PUP all year, or they're just going to reach an injury settlement with him, and he's going to be gone.
Yeah.
On the defense, I've got my eye. I was going to say Zimenez, but I'm not going to be a copycat. I've got to get out of that. I don't know why. I think Tay Crowder is going to have a problem. I do.
Stole mine.
You know what?
You stole it, Carl.
Beavers looked really, really good against New England. I think he's going to beat out Tay Crowder. And Mika McFadden, although Mika is a middle linebacker, he looked really good, which adds depth to that linebacker position. I just have a funny feeling that Tay Crowder is in trouble. And, Steve, you did mention that Zimenez is playing over Quincy Roche. Is he playing because they're just evaluating to see if he sticks coming out of camp? I don't know. It could be. So those are my picks. As far as a surprise make, I don't know if there is such a thing as a surprise, but those are the surprise moves that I would see coming.
All right, I'll go now, I guess. And I think the most important thing you said is as camp draws on, really not a lot of surprises nowadays, right, guys? Like the practices are all out there. The film is all out there. The days of when you barely seen any footage from camp and a guy randomly gets cut. So we kind of know what's going on. I'll give two surprise cuts. I got Darius Slayton as a surprise cut. I'll tell you why. And your point, Carl, about, cutting your nose to spite your face with Jones is accurate. My issue with Slayton is two things. One, struggles with drops. Very well documented. It goes back to his time at Auburn. He's always struggled with drops. Two, he doesn't play special teams. So when you get down to the bottom of that 53-man roster and you're trying to squeeze the last couple of players and you're like, okay, Darius Slayton or Richie James. Richie James played well in the games. He's an awesome special teamer. You have Colin Johnson, who, I like Colin Johnson. I shouted him out 2 months ago saying, look out for him. People are getting a little crazy now with the Colin Johnson stuff about him being a number one. Who knows, maybe. But I think Slayton's on the chopping block here. And I think that they're auditioning him in camp. It was funny. I seen a couple of Giants.com articles that were like, Slayton had an amazing practice. Slayton was catching everything. I found that a little comical. I think they're putting him out there, showcasing him for a trade. My second cut, you stole my thunder, Carl, was Tay Crowder. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Love the kid. Mr. Irrelevant. He's fighting for a starting job. That's remarkable in itself. just don't think he's built to be a linebacker and hold up in the NFL in the middle of a defense. I thought Darian Beavers played very well. All right, he has limitations in coverage. I get it, but he's a thumper. He can get in there. He can blitz. He can get up the middle. McFadden also super athletic at middle linebacker. For two makes, I have Yusuf Corker is very interesting to me, the safety, because you have the issue with unfortunately with Dane Belton. He's not going to be out for a long time. He has the collarbone. Hoping he comes back by like week 3. That would be a nice timeline.
I think it's a minimum of 4 games, right?
4 games, yeah, like 3,
something
4.
like that.
Yeah.
So here it is. This is a great spot for an undrafted free agent in Corker. I think the kid played well versus New England. I like what he's done, and I think he has a bright spot. And a lot of times, guys, with these young kids in camp, these rookies and low undrafted free agents, it's almost more about opportunity than what they do. Some of them don't really get the opportunity because they have 3-4 guys in front of them. So they may only get 2-3 reps per practice, or they may only get a drive in the 4th quarter of a preseason game. So I like Corker a lot. And obviously my make is going to be, either Richie James or Colin Johnson. I think they make it over Darius Slayton. I wouldn't trust Slayton. I know a lot of people still like him, and he had a solid rookie year. I don't trust him to catch the big pass in crunch time. He's still struggled in camp with drops. He had a bad drop. It was terrible. I don't mean to laugh. I was watching Fan Fest, and Carl Banks is talking, and he's like, all right, here's Darius Slayton. He's out here with the 3rd team. This is his chance to prove himself. This is a big chance. And literally drops the very next pass as Carl Banks is still talking about him making an impact. That said it all for me.
Oof. I agree with you about Slayton, that they might be trying to trade him, but I disagree about cutting him, not because they don't want to. I think if you cut him, these guys are the types that it's about the bottom line. And are you contributing? Tough, dependable. We love their motto. But the problem is if you cut Slayton, you get nothing. If you don't trade him, let him play out the year, and then he signs elsewhere, you get potential draft comp. That's the issue is, are they going to let him walk for absolutely nothing? Yeah,
you don't get much. I mean, he's a $2.5 million cap hit, but I think it's like $1 million you get back, which is really nothing in NFL terms. You're right. That's really not going to do much. You're not going to really get anybody.
But no, you might get like a 5th round pick as compensation.
Yeah, absolutely. The question is who's trading for him, right? I know Chicago needs some receivers. I've seen some talk of.
I'm sorry. I was unclear. I apologize. I mean, if he walks at the end of the year and he signs with another team.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So then the following year we
right.
And I think these guys are smart. Like I think they if we look at the draft we just had and how magical it seemed in terms of the number of picks they accumulated, I think those guys think about that.
Yeah, I agree. They definitely think ahead for sure.
Yeah.
And Wendell Robinson is going to lead this team in receptions this year.
Oh, I'm glad you said that, dude. I was thinking of a tweet last night, and I think they've been rocking people to sleep with him in camp. It's been very vanilla. You don't hear a lot. I think once week 1 comes, you're going to see the jet sweep. You're going to see the motion with him. He's going to be in the backfield. I'll just say this. I'm excited for Wandell.
He's going to lead this team in receptions. You watch.
Let me ask you a question. If he doesn't, would you be surprised if Saquon did?
No, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say he's going to be 2nd in receptions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I know exactly where you're going, Steven. You're spot on. But I'll tell you this. If Wendell Robinson leads his team in receptions this year, you know who better be looking over his shoulder? Is Kadarius Toney.
That's a whole nother episode, man. We talk about Toney.
Just putting it out there for everybody.
Spicy.
Food for thought.
This offense will not be the same if he does not play.
Yeah.
And how confident are you that he's going to play? That he's going to, isn't it funny? Isn't it funny? We're all sitting here knocking Daniel Jones. He can't stay healthy, injury prone. We get the same thing going on with Kadarius Toney. But everybody's beating the drums of war a little bit louder with Daniel Jones. Now, I understand Daniel Jones has been here a couple of years more. I understand quarterback is a lot different than receiver. I get it. But boy, oh boy, it's the same thing. Same thing, different position.
Look, I'll tell you what I saw. Cleveland the other day lost their 2nd center now.
Yes.
and they were planning on having a good season. Obviously, their quarterback situation is
It is what it is.
entertaining.
It's up there.
They actually got some guys in the offseason, some star players. They're not backing down. They're expecting to still have a great season. And it just reminded me that every team is dealing with injuries. And I think as Giants fans, people tend to think it's only the Giants that have all these injuries. And it's felt that way the last 3 years, to be fair. But right now, everybody's dealing with this. Nobody's enjoying the preseason. It's a war of attrition.
Just look across the river. Zach Wilson was there for 4 weeks.
Mekhi Becton.
For the year. Exactly right. So we're not the only. It's more pronounced with us because this is the team we follow.
And how about the Jets last season? And I'm not a Jet fan, but if I remember correctly, Carl Lawson. I mean, they lost like their starting defensive ends.
Yes.
The Jets and the Giants have both led the league in injuries the last 3 seasons. If you look at the last 3 seasons, it's the Jets and the Giants, number 1 and number 2 in injuries.
Excuse me. Can you imagine Kansas City? And this is always the argument I use the last 2 seasons when everyone's like, oh, what are you talking about offensive line? Who cares about offensive line? It's a wide receiver driven league. And I'm like, you're wrong. Because how do you think Patrick Mahomes feels? The guy actually makes it all the way to the Super Bowl, loses both his starting offensive tackles.
That's awful.
And guess what? He sucked. I mean, he was still he was still magical in many ways.
No, it was rough. You're right. It was rough.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the best quarterback in the league. He didn't do nothing, and they lost the Super Bowl. Can you imagine making it to the Super Bowl? You have this window of your career,
Tough.
All right, so let's have a little fun here now. Let's do our schedule review. Tommy, we haven't had a chance to do this with you yet, but we've
Excited.
had fun doing it. All right. We already know you have us going 0-1 against Tennessee.
I tipped my hand there, right? I tipped my hand. I'm sorry. After I said it, I realized it.
Tommy, we'll let you rethink that because I say if we are going to upset them and they have an incredible running back, good offensive line, great coach, but the first game of the season is when you want to play them more than any other.
Absolutely.
We're going to be rookie dependent. The rookies are going to hit the wall back end of the season, blah, 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 blah. So you can rethink that if you'd like.
I guess we'll see in a couple seconds here, right? I'm thinking.
And by the way, speaking, I look, I know I'm going to regret this. I know, but I'm going to say it anyway. Okay. Speaking of Tennessee, who I fully expect to take a step back this year, I honestly do.
Agree.
Well, boy, Malik Willis sure looked good against Baltimore.
Oh, don't do that, Carl. Don't do that.
That's all I'm saying. Look, and
don't get him started, please.
Tannehill's done.
Out there, I know I said the Giants are not going to draft him. He's not for us. We've got Daniel Jones. I know I'm leaving myself wide open. So I am going to give him kudos and say he looked very good against Tennessee.
Absolutely.
And I will leave it at that. That's all I'm saying. I'm going to give the man credit. He had a good game.
They're going to sit him for a year. Tannehill had that devastating last game with like 3 interceptions. He's in the last year of his contract. He's hard to believe he's like 38 years old or turning 38. He's done, and they'll move on to him.
Yep. All right. So let's get into it, Tommy. Week 1 at Tennessee.
Okay.
Let's see if Steve backed you off your let's see what kind of set you got here, Tommy. Let's put it that way.
So I am going to stick to my guns here. I think I'll tell you why. I think it's a tough game. It's opening day. It's the first regular season game and a brand new offense for the Giants, brand new defense. I think it'll be a close game. I think a lot of the struggles with our offense so far in camp and Jones is because Wink Martindale runs a phenomenal defense. I don't think he's getting enough credit these last couple of weeks. So I think it's a defensive game. I think you're looking at probably 20-10 type of game, 20-13. I just don't think the Giants are ready yet to take that one. I'm going to give that an 0-1.
Let's not forget you're getting a healthy Derrick Henry out of the gate with a new defense.
I'll tell you why I think it's going to be an upset,
dude.
guys. It plays into the strength of our defense, which is our front line and our run stopping. Tannehill lost his number 1 receiver. Remember, they traded him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not on the team anymore.
Right.
He's going to rely on a true number 2 and a rookie. And it's Tannehill, another year older with that arm. They have a very good offensive line, but we have a very good front 7. Wink does what Wink does. And the weakness of our defense, I don't think Tannehill's going to take advantage of that.
You know, Steve, you did when we first did this, you did say that was a loss. I have it in writing, Steve. Just FYI.
Which is why it's great that we're doing this. But I'm telling you,
Listen, we're coming back to this too next year.
You can wax poetic all you want. I have it in writing.
it's okay. I'll stand by what I said.
Same here, man.
But I'm just, as time goes on, I'm like, man, this could be the one big upset we have this season.
I'll say this to your point. If we could stop the run, I think we win the football game. If you make, even with our secondary being young and, thin, if we could force Tannehill to throw and you let those pass rushers get after him, Thibodeau, Aziz, and you let them pin their ears back, I think we got a shot at that point.
Even if, I'm sorry, Steve, go ahead.
I'll just say this. Here's why I'm probably wrong, though, and why my gut was probably right with taking the loss. Their front seven is phenomenal, actually.
Oh.
And so here's how their front seven works. They don't have any big boys. They are all stout and strong and super quick. And I think that's what's going to, they don't have Aaron Donald, but they have they have a couple Pro Bowlers. They have one rising star lineman. The Aaron Donald type of guy, I think, is still going to give our offensive line trouble, on the interior.
Yeah.
And I think that's the matchup problem, is those guys are going to penetrate and be in our backfield. That's where we may have trouble this game.
They're athletic on defense. They're very athletic. I agree.
Also, not to cut you off, I apologize, but if you have Lemieux out, right, and if Lemieux has the foot injury, who's starting at guard against that defensive front, right? Is it Izudu, the rookie? So you're going to put a rookie in there? Is it Bredesen? That's a tough proposition. And, game one should be interesting, though.
All right. Week 2, home opener against Carolina.
We rotate? All right, I'll go first. So I will be in attendance that day, which is awesome. I'm super excited. That's a Giants win, baby. That's an opening day win. That's a big one. You're going to have Baker Mayfield. It scares me a little bit because I liken it back to last season when we had the home opener versus Denver. And I was like, we're beating these guys. We're on the right path. And they came in and beat us up. So it does worry me. But I'm not a fan of the Panthers. Baker's been inconsistent. I'll be nice about it. He's also been hurt. If he's healthy, that gives them a better shot. But I think in that game specifically, I think you see Daniel Jones do some good things. I think you see Saquon Barkley, as we spoke about earlier, get in the passing game, get out on some, slide routes outside. I think the Giants take that one. I'll give it 24-14.
Week 3, Monday night at home against Dallas. And by the way, I will be flying up to New Jersey and attending that game.
You are?
Yes, I am.
I got to go with you then, brother. I got to meet you finally in person.
Here we go.
I'm coming.
I'm going to put it out there. I'd like to meet a lot of people, but I'm
coming, man.
Win. That's what I want to see. Anyway, what do you got, Tommy?
So this is the big one for me, guys. Honestly, you look for benchmarks with a team in their progression, right? Even if it's in the first year of a rebuild, you're looking for benchmarks, right? Giants are 1-9 against Dallas in their last 10 games, right? To me, and I took a little heat for this on Twitter, the New York Football Giants don't get back to being who they are until we start kicking some cowboy butt out there. That's my opinion. If we keep letting these guys come run all over us and, Dak is looking like an MVP every game, that's the number one game. Listen, it's a tough game. A lot of people think the Cowboys are taking a step back, but you guys notice when you're 1-9, 1-10 against the team, it's a mental thing. And it doesn't matter if it's a new quarterback, new coach, it really becomes like that aura and that stigma. That's a big game, man. And, my gut tells me it's a loss, but I'm going for a win. I think Daniel Jones has a big night. He breaks his primetime drought, his struggles in primetime where, he likes to throw interceptions to the defensive tackle. I think the Giants go in there. It's a close game. We pull it out 21-17.
Week 4, home versus Chicago.
That's another win. I like that. Justin Fields, good young quarterback, but he is just that, a young quarterback. I think Wink Martindale in that game takes advantage of that. I think he sends some stuff at him that he's not ready for. And, offensively, I think the Giants could play against the Bears defense. I'm not too crazy about the Chicago defense. I give the Giants 27-14.
And they don't have Alshon Jeffrey, right? He's
hurt. No, wait. No, Allen Robinson signed elsewhere.
What did I say? Alshon Jeffrey. I'm sorry. Allen Robinson. I can't believe I
He
said.
played for them before too.
Right.
Yeah.
And their
what
offensive
about-
line is terrible. Their
I meant
offensive
to say
line-
Allen Robinson. I feel
Right.
stupid.
And what about Roquan Smith? What if they do trade Roquan Smith? That's tough, man.
Yeah,
That's
they won't trade him.
No, they won't trade him.
Week 5 in London against Green Bay.
That's a loss. You got a young Giants team traveling, across the pond against a tough Packers team. Aaron Rodgers, whatever you want to say about him, that guy could sling it still with the best of them. Going against a young secondary. I think he takes advantage of Aaron Robinson. I think he goes after him. I would say Green Bay 28, Giants 14.
Week 6, home versus Baltimore. This is a fun one.
Ooh, this is a good one, man. If I was given the choice of saying toss up, I would say toss up. But I'm not going to cop out that way. I'm going to give it to the Ravens. I think it'll be a good game. Can we contain Lamar Jackson? Can we keep him in the pocket? Could our ends keep their contain? That's going to decide that game. Make it just similar to Tannehill. Make Lamar pass. Make him beat you with the arm. But I don't think we're there yet. I think the Ravens take that one.
All right. Week 7 at Jacksonville.
Strikes me as an upset game, but I go with the Giants 20-10.
Steve, to your point, Trevor Lawrence looks much improved. Look, I'm going to give you props here, Steve. You called it. Right now, he looks very good in that new offense. They just look like a much more relaxed and balanced team.
Doug Peterson's a good football coach.
Wow.
He knows what he's doing.
Wow.
Well, the clown show left town too, so that helped them.
Yes, he did.
Urban Meyer.
Oh, week 8 at Seattle.
I'm gonna go Giants 2017. Not much insight on that one.
Week 9 is the bye, as we discussed.
Which is a great time to have a bye.
Yes, sir. Week 10 coming out of the bye, home versus Houston.
Yeah, that's a win. I think that's a win. I would say, I like Davis Mills. I think he actually could be a solid quarterback. I think Giants pull that out. I'm going to go 27-21.
Week 11, home versus Detroit.
I think that's another Giant win. I'll go 2013.
Interesting.
This is
All
fun.
right. All right. Put the big boy pants on now here, Tommy. Here now it starts to get serious. All right, my friend? You all stretched out? You ready to go?
Ready to go.
Are you all nice and loose and limber?
So yeah, I'm sweating too a little bit, but
Week 12, Thanksgiving Day, national TV in Dallas.
pains me to say I'm going to go with loss. We struggle versus Dallas. We struggle in prime time. I'm going to go with, I hate even saying it, but I think we take the first one. I think Dallas takes the second.
Week 13, home versus Washington.
I go Giants.
Week 14, home against Philadelphia.
These games are always so hard to predict, man, to be honest with you. I'll go Giants. I'll go home and away with that one.
You know, Tommy, you said something interesting. When you've got these division games, like with Dallas, we're 1-9 in the last 10. You're right. It's mental. We start to beat ourselves. How many times have we seen the Giants beat themselves in these games that they've actually been leading in a lot of these games?
Most of them.
Right.
Especially against Philadelphia.
I think it was a great point.
Can't forget the Black Cat game, right, against Dallas.
Oh, please. All right. So week 15 at Washington.
I'll keep to my promise. I'll go home and away. I think Washington could take the home game there. I want to be fair.
Week 16, Christmas Eve in Minnesota against a now pass-oriented offensive Minnesota football team.
That's going to be a tough game, fellas. I love the Kirk Cousins talk earlier. I don't think he gets enough credit for his quarterback play. That's a tough game. I'm going to go loss there.
So week 17, home New Year's Day against Indianapolis. Jonathan Taylor.
That's a tough one too. That's not an easy one. I'm gonna go Giants. I'll take Giants there. Close game.
My hot take on that was I don't think that quarterback's going to make it through the year.
Yeah, so yeah, I would agree with you.
I don't wish injury on anyone. I'm just saying, like
Right, I could see it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I, for some reason, have a sneaky suspicion he's going to do decently there. I'm not going to say great, but I think he's going to have a decent year.
Oh, no, he'll have a good year. I just don't think he's going to make it through the season.
You don't think he's going to hold up? Injury. I got you.
So, Tommy, that's a win. You're saying we're going to beat them?
Yeah, I think we beat them. Not a big fan of Matt Ryan. I was a fan of Matt Ryan. Let me rephrase that. But I think he's starting to get on the back nine in his career. I think the New York Giants this season will do good against stationary quarterbacks, non-mobile quarterbacks. I think Wink Martindale's defense will cause it to crash in, the line to crash in, and we could be successful there. I think where you'll see us struggle a little bit is with the mobile quarterbacks like a Lamar Jackson.
Or how about week 18, last game of the season in Philadelphia against the mobile Jalen Hurts, and possibly a meaningful game for the Eagles.
So hold on. To set the table, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You have us at 10 wins, which could be basically playing for not just a wild card, that could be playing for the division against Philly in that final game, just to level set.
Who may also be playing for the division and may have 10 wins.
I don't like that pressure. That's a lot of pressure now.
You did it to yourself. You did it to yourself.
I'm gonna go loss that game. I think several of these games could go either way. I had us somewhere in between 8, 9 wins, but I'm gonna go loss there. I think it's gonna be a tough game. And again, if we could play well against the mobile quarterbacks, you could see us make a run this season. Who knows?
That's fun.
That was fun. I enjoyed that, man.
Dude, that'd be a 10-win season.
10-7, first year in a rebuild, right? With the quarterback that nobody likes. Go figure that.
Yeah, I'm gonna get fried for this one eventually. Listen, I love my team, man. I don't care what anyone says. I'm going Giants. We can do it.
Winning 3 games in the division by my count, right?
Yeah, I had the first Cowboys game. I had the first Eagles game. Yeah, I think it was 3.
Yeah, because you did a home and away for each one. So that's fun stuff. I mean,
I enjoyed that.
I would sign up for 10-7. I wouldn't expect it, but I'd sign up for it.
And probably means that Daniel Jones has played pretty well too for sitting there at 10 wins, right? Not guaranteed. And that's why I love the point you made earlier, Carl. Wins and losses are not going to factor into when Daniel Jones comes back, because it could go either way. He could play like an all-star and the defense lets us down, or he could play poorly and we still win a game. So that was a great point earlier. Not a lot of people talk about that. I wouldn't put wins and losses on the quarterback right now, not on a team that's rebuilding.
I agree. Guys, this was a lot of fun tonight. Tommy, it's always a pleasure to have you on. We always have fun with you when you come on. And
me too, man.
Again, we thank you for all your support, for coming on as often as you do. And we also wish you a ton of luck with Tommy Takes and what you're doing and where you're going. And everybody, please, if you're not already doing so, please give Tommy a listen and check him out. He's got really solid takes and he works hard at what he does. And your support, like you supported us, would be great for him. So we really appreciate it. And thank you. A lot of fun, guys. Again, thank you so much, guys. We appreciate it. Always fun talking Giants with you guys. Everybody, we thank you for your support. We thank you for checking us out. And we'll be coming back at you next week with another show. Guys, great time tonight. Have a good night.
Thanks, everyone.